Hello and welcome! If you're new here, my name is Roxy and I'm the owner of Juniper Bloom Studio, where I sell stickers, scrunchies, apparel, and all sorts of stuff. I also sell digital art, and in a previous video I made a tutorial on how I make my digital seamless patterns using Canva, but I actually normally use Procreate for my digital seamless patterns, and in that tutorial I did say that I would be making a video on how I do that in Procreate. And then I filmed it and I lost the footage, and then I got severely sick for like 3 months on end. I'm still pretty sick, but we're getting to the video today because somebody commented about it and I like to stay true to my word. So here we go. I like to start with a square canvas. This one is actually not really the size that I like to go with, so we're going to resize it. Crop and resize, or you can just start with a canvas of your liking. This one's 2048 by 2048. I want to do 3300 by 3300 because I just like big juicy files like that, honestly. And there we go. The bigger the file, the better the quality wherever you put it, but it is going to be harder to download in certain ways, so just keep that in mind. And this is going to be a very simple pattern just for the sake of the tutorial. Please know that you can make your art as elaborate or as simple as you would like. Anything is fine. So what I like to do is start with a sketch. So I'm going to find a good sketch brush. We'll go with butter sketch, get a good size going, and then just start by making whatever design you kind of want going on in the pattern. And if you haven't seen the Canva tutorial yet, I do recommend watching that one first because there's a lot of aspects to this that I cover in that video that I will also be using in this video but not really going over. For instance, having multiple of each thing. You don't just want one heart on the pattern and no other hearts, because then it's going to look like a very repeated pattern rather than a seamless pattern. So you want to do a couple, make them different sizes, turn them around. So I'll show you a little bit of that, but I definitely recommend watching the other video first before this one. So let's just do kind of a fall autumnal pattern, if you will. I'm not actually going to use this one for anything, so I'm not going to focus too much on if it's good. I'm going to draw a little pumpkin, and because of what I was just explaining, that you want to have more than one of each thing, we're going to draw another pumpkin, and then maybe, and when you're sketching also, it really doesn't have to be perfect. Some people like to be perfect on their first go with sketches, and that's great. If that's you, that's wonderful. I have learned that I work a lot better because I have ADHD. I work a lot better if I just go for it and get it out there and then perfect it as I go along, because I'm also a painful perfectionist when it comes to things like that. Let's do a couple of bats like that. Again, I'm really not trying to make this design look good, so if you're like, she's not even an artist, maybe, but don't take this as a good example. We'll do some candy pieces, a couple more candies, and then because of what I was saying earlier, we don't want to have just one of everything, so I'm gonna make some more here. Another bat right there, and we'll do some more candy pieces going on down here. Okay, and then let's do maybe some cookies, like some Halloween cookies. There's like that one that's like a pumpkin cookie, but it has like the eyes on it with the mouth, and then the little, I guess that doesn't really look like a cookie very much, but the whole point the whole point is to show you how to make a pattern, not necessarily how to be an artist, so take that for what you will. That's another cookie. We'll do a third cookie right here. These are like supposed to be those Pillsbury Halloween cookies. And we'll do the ghost one, which I can't think off the top of my head of what the ghost one looks like, so this is gonna look kind of crazy. But there we go. And then let's do a couple of like witchy things. Like we'll do a moon right here, a moon right here, and a couple of stars. You can just have one of each picture if you want. It's not like a set rule, but I prefer to have multiples because once you, if you can, my baby's falling asleep in the background. He likes to scream, so I'm sorry if you can hear that. I like to have multiples because once you turn it into the seamless pattern, it actually just looks a lot more seamless when you can't just see like that one elephant, 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 as opposed to like elephant here, elephant there, and it kind of mixes around. I don't know why elephant was my example there, but here we are. Let's do another moon right here. Maybe do like a witch hat or something. I'm really not trying to be too artistic with this one. Witch hat, and then maybe like another witch hat here. That is a terrible looking witch hat. And then let's just do some filler space with some candy corns. And it's nice to have like some big items and some small items because you are going to be doing more filler space later on. So you definitely want to have some things that you can draw in there that are a bit smaller shapes, like the stars and the candy corns. And just for the sake of filler space, even though it's not really Halloween related, we'll just add some hearts in here. Because why not? And once you've got something going like this, typically what I would do is go through and outline it all and make it a lot more perfect, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just very sloppy outline it. So what I do is I click on the layer and I drag the opacity down to where I can just barely see it. Add another layer. That's very important because if you forget that, you might be sad. I've done it many a time. And then pick whatever inking brush you would like to use. Get it to the size you want. I'm going to do just a little bigger because I'm going to sloppy do it right now. So I've got the pumpkin. Oh, that ended up small. There we go. And this is not... Ideally, when you're making yours, when you do this inking process, you're going to be a lot more careful with it, but I do not plan on selling this pattern, so it's all good. It is just for the sake of showing my process. And if you are familiar with Procreate, this part is probably really not applicable to you because whether it's a seamless pattern or just your own art, you probably already have a system for how you like to sketch things out and outline them and such. But this is for just in case anybody really wants like the full detail. You are more than welcome to skip this part if you just want the actual logistics of how to make it a seamless pattern. But here we go, just speeding through this right now. This cat cookie looks crazy. Witch hat. And ghost. The ghost also looks crazy. The cookies really don't look good. I did not I did not really try on those. Pumpkin. And some moons and stars. Heart. We've got the little bat guys. And something I cover in the Canva tutorial, but I will make a reminder here in case you're just like, no, I have no interest in that tutorial, I'd rather just watch this one, is you really want to make sure when you're doing this first drawing not to touch the edges or get too close. I mean, you can get like close to the edges, but you really don't want your design to run off the edge for any reason, because that will mess you up when you're trying to do the seamless part. Little star here. And another thing that I just recently kind of learned will mess a pattern up, because it only happens to me every once in a while, so I didn't notice it really at first, is say you have a witch hat here, and then on the other side directly you have another witch hat in the same angle and everything. That will also look like you put those items together. So just really the most random that you can be with everything, the better. Because if you're too calculated with it, then it will probably look like you were calculated with it, you know? And sometimes that's what you want. Like if you want a really geometric pattern or you want it to be very even and symmetrical, then that's something that you can actually do. But for me, that requires a lot of brain power that I just simply don't have the time for as a mother. So here we are. Pretend that this is a lot better, and then what I like to do is add another layer underneath the one we just drew. You can get rid of that sketched layer if you want, unless you want to keep it for some reason if you're attached to it. And now we're going to color everything in, and For this, I'm just going to use Juicy Alcohol markers, which is a brush set I got off of Etsy. There's no particular reason I'm using it, it's just they're very easy to color with, and I'm trying to do this quickly. So pretend I'm coloring in the lines for this. We're going to... You kind of can do really whatever colors you want, but if there's a certain color palette that you're inspired by, then by all means, bring in a color palette. I'm not getting too into the weeds with how Procreate works right now, but you can actually like bring up a color palette and use that. I just never do that, so I actually don't know how. I was trying to figure it out the other day and I was getting really frustrated. Purple moons. Clean that up just a little bit. Sometimes this messy style is actually like cute and it's what some people go for, but for me, I like to be a little cleaner than this, at least like a little bit. I'll do purple on all the stars because we're really not trying to be too perfectionist about this right now. Which I have to remind myself, when I'm trying to do something and not do it in a perfectionist way, I really have to constantly remind myself like, hey, this is not supposed to be perfect, remember? Like right now I'm looking at how I didn't draw another circle on that candy and I'm like, oh my god, but like what? It doesn't matter. It's fine. Girl, it's fine. Now I'm trying to remember how candy corns go. I think it's yellow at the top, then white, then orange. But I don't remember, so if you're like, that's not what a candy corn looks like, and you're like ready to crucify me, I'm sorry. I really am. Add some yellow in here. Oh, that's a little too much. I'm doing this all on the same layer, by the way, but if you plan on shading everything, if you want to add more layers to keep your colors separate, or you want to do clipping masks for each color, it's a lot easier if you separate each color for that. But that's up to you. Like I said, I'm not getting into how to use Procreate. It's just, if you already know how to use Procreate, this is how to make a pattern. I can make a video on like my top Procreate tips, but I frankly am very self-taught and YouTube taught when it comes to Procreate, so I don't know how helpful I could really be on that level. Let's do like a tan color for the cookies, for the background of the cookies. I love these Pillsbury cookies. I made some the other day and I put them on top of M&M cookies, which was amazing. I always see it done with chocolate chips, but I was like, I want to be a little different. I want to be quirky. I want to be fun. Let's do like a bluish purple for the witch hat. There we go. This pattern is gonna look like a child made it, like a kindergartner made it, and that's okay. Because as long as you are getting your tutorial, I am happy. And then if anybody sees this video and is like, wait, that didn't make any sense, or like you did that too sloppy for me to be able to learn, please let me know and I would be more than happy to make like a part 2 where I elaborate on whatever questions you guys have. I did not actually expect anybody to watch my last video, so I was kind of surprised when people were like, hey, how do you do this? Or I would like a video on that. And I was like, oh, for real? Me? Little old me? Alright, I think the ghost has like a purple mouth and like orange. Let's get some orange going. I think its tongue is orange. Maybe its eyes. I don't remember, honestly. The pumpkin is definitely orange. Then we'll do orange pumpkins on these guys too. I think orange bottom on the candy corn. That doesn't look right to me, but maybe it's just because of the poor quality in which I have colored it. And then I'll also show you, just for the sake of it, because this is something I like to do in my patterns, I'll show you how I normally shade things. Which, again, if you are a Procreate Pro, then you can just skip all that because it's probably going to be more annoying than helpful. But I'm very specific about how I shade things, so I will show you. Now pretend each of these colors is separated because it does make it a lot easier. You're going to add another layer on top of here. Click on it and go to Clipping Mask. And then it's up to you if you just want to shade it from here and choose your own color. What I like to do when I'm shading is I turn this into Multiply, very top one, and then I pick the same color as what I want to shade, but I just go in like this and it naturally kind of picks a darker color for you. But if you would rather control that yourself, that's fine. This is a terrible shading job, by the way. But see how like I'm shading on the orange and it's shading the cookie as well? And that's not really helpful. That's because I didn't separate out my colors, and that is the benefit of doing that. But I'll do like one more color just to show you, but I'm not going to shade this whole thing. I'll shade the bat, the witch hat. And then you can also do some highlights too, which I'll just show you like a little example of. Add another layer, and you can either drag it under that one or click clipping mask again. But for this one, you're going to go to overlay. And I've noticed overlay doesn't really give me the color that I like for a highlight, so I will typically choose a lighter version myself, but keep the overlay part. And as you can kind of see, there's like a little highlight going on there. I didn't do anything too drastic. So that's how I do some shading and highlights. It's not perfect by any means, but we're gonna move on. So something that I took a very long time to learn when making my patterns on Procreate is that if you were to just click this pattern, see how the edges of it go to the edges of where the farthest design is? So if you were to just do the same steps that we did in the Canva tutorial, where you drag, 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 drag from opposite corners, it's not going to be a perfect square and it's going to mess you up. And it took me forever to figure out why that was happening, because I wanted to be able to make these patterns and then change the background to whatever color I wanted. But the way that I have figured out to avoid that is add another layer underneath your drawing. And if you didn't notice, I combined all of my layers together, which you don't have to do until after this part, but I like to do it ahead of time just so it's cleaner. And then on this layer, whatever you want your background color to be, let's just do like a green. Wow, that looks really bad actually. Maybe let's go with black and see if that looks better. Like a really dark green. Okay, yeah, you know what, whatever. Just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll just go with this. So the reason that this helps is because if I combine these two layers now, and I click it, it goes all the way to the edge because it's combining it with that other layer. I'm sure there are other ways. Oh, and then see right here, I forgot to color in the white of the candy corn. So you'll also notice little moments like that where you're like, oh no, I need to go back and fix this. Because if you're like me, sometimes you forget to do stuff like that. The ghost. And obviously I should have done this before I combined my layers, so I could have done it under the drawing, but we're not going for perfection here, as I've made it very, very clear. So now that I've kind of fixed that and kind of made it worse, actually, we are going to take this whole layer and we are going to duplicate it 3 times, which you just swipe to the left and then say duplicate, so that you have 4 total. And then we're going to do the same step that I did in the Canva tutorial, but if you haven't seen it, I'll explain it nonetheless. You click on the little 𝐒𝐭𝐿𝐲𝐽. Click on the little cursor, and then you're going to take it and go opposite to opposite. So bottom right hand corner, we're dragging it to the top left. And you drag it until you see those orange lines that just clicked, and that's when you know that it's lined up right. I'm gonna grab the next layer. Go to the next corner, bottom left to top right, until you see the orange lines. And then the next one, top left to bottom right, until you see the orange lines. And the last one, top right to bottom left, until you see the orange lines. And then, as you can see, there's a little bit of filler space in here. So if you want to, you are more than welcome to draw a few things in there to kind of fill the space out more. I'm being really lazy with it right now because I'm really just trying to show you guys how to get this going. I'm gonna go to black, add a little outline as if it was always there, and now that space looks a little bit more full. So now what I like to do is combine all of this into one layer and duplicate that again 4 times, or 3 times, so that you have 4 layers. So what you want to do if you're trying to make that more multiplied look is you actually, rather than dragging the whole image, you're going to drag the corner of it itself, so you're making it smaller. And do that with all 4 to opposite corners. Same as you were to do if you were testing out the seamless pattern, but this one is to multiply it. So this would be like the true multiplied version, whereas the one we just had is really like the zoomed in version. There you have it. That's the multiplied version, and if you zoom in, it looks a lot like the original. So you've got the multiplied version and the zoomed in version. So what I would do if I was listing these is combine the top 4, that was the multiplied version, and make sure that that's all one. My kid's still screaming in the back. And then you also have this. I would download those as 2 separate files, as big and as best of DPI as you can, and then we would go into the listing process, which I will make another video about. But that is how you make a seamless pattern on Procreate. I'll show you one that I actually put some time and effort into, which is this one. And this is actually going to be the freebie pattern that comes in the November newsletter. So if you would like a free pattern every month or free digital art every month, it'll kind of depend, join the newsletter. You can go to juniperbloomstudio.com and there's a newsletter link at the bottom, or it pops up, I believe, for you. Do with that information what you will, and I am so sorry it took me so long to get this video out. Hopefully it was cohesive enough despite all my stutter stepping and such, and I will get that video on how to upload them and list them on Etsy out as soon as I can. I'm a mom, I am constantly sick, so please bear with me, but I promise you it's coming. And with that, thank you so much for spending time on my channel. I appreciate you. I'm giving you some virtual hugs right now, even though you can't see it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye!